morning. You find me taking down our wreath off of our gate. The holiday season is over. Today, though, is January 6th, as you probably know. It is the 12th day of Christmas, sometimes called Old Christmas, but most appropriately, I think, called Epiphany. And today is the day you may know that we celebrate the coming of the Magi to pay homage, to worship the newborn King, the Christ child. And yet, unfortunately, from here on out, January 6th is also going to be remembered as Insurrection Day, as the day that a violent mob attacked the Capitol of the United States. And I'm a little afraid that that may overshadow Epiphany, and that would be just a terrible thing. And yet, the more I consider it, the more appropriate it is, in an odd kind of way, that the day that this terrible event happened in American history is also the day that we celebrate the coming of the Magi. They come to Palestine not to worship Herod, not to even to go to Jerusalem and to see all of the sights, but instead they come to find the one who is born, the King of the Jews, and they kind of blunder into Herod's palace. They inadvertently spark Herod's violent uprising, if you will, but that's not what January 6th is about. January 6th is about these magi, these wise men, these scholars, Zoroastrian priests perhaps from the east, coming to worship the King of the Jews and finding him not in Herod's palace, but finding him in a humble stable. In Matthew 2, it tells us that they were so overwhelmed when they find this child. And some say that it was a couple of years later, after Jesus' birth, though Jesus and Mary are still there in Bethlehem. And for them to bow down at a manger is one thing, but to bow down in front of a 2-year-old is even more ridiculous. Who would bow down in front of a 2-year-old? And yet they are so overwhelmed that they bow down before this child, this King of the Jews, because they recognize that that is the greater reality. They've already been to Jerusalem. They've already met Herod. They've seen Herod's incredible palace. On their way in, they may have seen Herod's aqueducts, maybe even his amazing temple, all of the trappings of power and importance. And yet, when do they bow down? It is there at that manger. And that reminds us, on this Epiphany Day, on this January 6th, that the most powerful things that are going on in the world are not the things that are going on in Washington or Moscow or London. The most powerful ways that God is at work is not always among those who are wealthiest or most powerful, but God is at work among the simple and the humble, and God is at work in ways more powerful than they can ever imagine. And so on this day, whatever the news might be on January 6th of 2022, and pay attention to that, it's important, but whatever the news may be, recognize that the greater news is that Jesus is alive, that Jesus is at work in the world, often in simple but profound ways, and look for those ways and join Jesus in that work. And you can do that because, and only because, of course, God is with us. Happy Epiphany. Amen.